and matching the right buyer with the right home. That's such an important detail, having the right buyer with the right home. We mentioned earlier how we've got all of these high prices for the Antioch houses, and that they're sitting a little bit longer, and that's because they need a specific buyer. Not just anybody's going to be coming in and buying them. So making sure that your house is being marketed to the correct buyer is really going to be a large part of what makes all the difference. But also small details like, not small details, actually pretty important details like professional photography, having some good video footage of your house makes a big difference as well. And making sure that you're finding the right buyers through digital platforms and professional networks is going to be your number one way to do that. But hosting an open house never hurts.
It's funny. They call us, people not in the business, they call us salesmen and saleswomen, right? And I find there's like almost no part of our job that has anything to do with sales. Well, there's one part that is technically sales, I think, which is like we have to sell us.
Yeah, we sell ourselves.
We sell ourselves, right?
Maybe our souls a little bit.
But I don't know anyone who sells someone on a house.
You shouldn't be, at least.
Well, you shouldn't be, right. But in Illinois, it's almost impossible. Mm-hmm. And you know why, but I'm going to explain it for the listeners. In Illinois, the contract isn't really moving forward for at least a week. So after you even get a fully accepted contract, you've got 5 business days where your attorney, your inspector, your parents can come in and for just about any reason besides price, you can cancel that contract. So no matter what you do to sell someone on a particular house, to sell them that house, they can back out. So as soon as they get cold feet, they're out. And it happens, right? So there's almost 0 point in trying to. It's not like a car where, hey, I need to get it off the lot. So as soon as he drives it off the lot, it's his. I don't have to worry about it, and it's sold. Our job is really probably 50% marketing, advertising. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of psychology in what we do.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of creativity from, like you talked about, it's, staging and the photography and the video aspects. So it's staying on, and those things are really kind of part of the marketing strategies.
Yes.
So there's very little sales going on in real estate, like you said, besides selling ourselves. Mm-hmm. So the open house, I agree with you. It creates additional exposure. The more exposure a house gets, the better chances it'll sell, because real estate's a numbers game.
Absolutely.
The more people in there, I know, depending on how that market is at any given time, based on how many people see it, I can predict how many people will make offers, mm-hmm. and then I can predict what that will be on a finished price. Mm-hmm. That's why our team, we're so good at predicting what final sales values are. That's why we nail the market, is because we have that experience of those numbers. It's not about selling houses. It's about, if anything, it's about selling dreams more than anything else, I think.
What a quote.
Exactly. Okay.
Wow.
I've talked enough. Let me go on to the next myth. The real estate market always goes up.
Okay. So while real estate tends to appreciate over time, markets actually fluctuate significantly due to economic factors, interest rates, and local supply and demand. I mean, all of that's going to play a much bigger factor than I think people realize.
But, even though I think we could agree that real estate market doesn't always go up, but it always eventually goes up, right?
Yeah.
So my dad always taught me when he was teaching me how to invest in stock market, you've only lost money if you sell. You don't. If you don't sell, it's just paper. When you sell it, that's when you've lost money. If you're selling on the downturn. But real estate market, I think, general has been proven to be the longest term. Has the longest term effect on personal individual wealth, right? And as a result, so I always tell people the best time to buy is now, even if it goes down. Yes, you will be hurt in the short term, and if you have to leave, that's why we talk about on our strategies with our clients. We want to know, is this the forever home? Is this the 5-year home? Is this, you just need a place to crash until something better comes along in a year? Mm-hmm. Because how quick you should be to pull the trigger on that purchase depends on what your long-term strategy is. And if we have to get you out of there in 2 years, chances of us being able to sell and get you out while you still are cash positive is very slim. But if your plan is 5 years, 10 years, then it's a much easier, typically much safer endeavor.
Absolutely. I mean, whenever I do interviews with my home buyers, because I like to figure out what it is that they're actually looking for, one of the questions that I ask them is, what are your personal goals with this purchase? And they're always a little thrown off. But reason being is because a lot of times I tell people, the right time to buy is the right time that you need to buy. You know, they always want to have some sort of like insight on, is it better to do it now or in 6 months from now? And I'm like, well, do you need a house right now? Because then that's going to be the right time for you 6 months from now. If you can't wait, then we got to do this now. And it has so little to do with what is going to be the right time with all the extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Real estate is probably the most personal business there is. It has to do with what makes sense for you, the clients.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next one. I think we got time for one more here before we kind of turn it over to Sly Marinca from the Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. The best time to buy a home is spring.
Okay. I don't know about that. So market conditions can vary, and the best time to sell depends on various factors, including your local market trends, which is why we're constantly putting them out there for you, economic conditions, and individual circumstances. Like I just said, the best time to buy is when you need to buy. Best time to sell is when you need to sell. Sometimes less competition in an off-peak season can result in a faster sale. It really just... each sale is so different. So it's really hard to just accept a blanket statement like that is true.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In fact, a lot of times it's the opposite for me. I think the spring is a great time to sell. I think it's not a great time to buy. And they ask these questions that are really subjective. What does a great time mean?
Yeah.
Does great time mean finding the best houses? Does a great time mean getting the best deals? Does the great time mean having no competition?
Having more options to choose from?
Yeah, which is more important? Time, money, convenience, like so many factors at play that you can't answer that as a single patent answer. In fact, I think the best time to buy is on Christmas Day. I'm not joking. You'll get the best deals. The past 3 years in a row, we had deals that went under contract on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve, because there were buyers who knew there's no competition on those days.
Sure.
And they made their offers, and sellers, excited because of the holidays, accepted those offers. So those were great times to buy.
Yeah.
And there's really no bad time to buy. I think the question really is, what's the best or worst time to sell? And that one, we're very specific because we've got lots of experience to tell us typically when buyers and sellers come and go from the market. And a lot of times that revolves around summers, it revolves around school calendars. I always tell my seller clients, get on the market before July 15th because you want to be under contract by then, because that's the last time a buyer who has kids that want to get registered for school can get under contract and foreseeably close in time for the school year to start. Okay, at 12:46, it is Wednesday, February 21st. You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr on 98.3 FM, The Life. And in the studio today, we are lucky. We have one of the best mortgage loan officers I've ever met and I've ever worked with. His name is Sly Marinca of the Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Hi, Sly.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for the introduction.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here. I can't tell you how much it means to me.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to turn it right over to you, Sly. This is your segment. I want you to tell us everything we could ever know about mortgages in the next 15 minutes.
Well, it sounds good. I'll do my best. So what I have prepared today is I wanted to talk a little bit about the current interest rate trends we are seeing. And it has a lot to do with bigger financial, economic numbers that are coming out. Raw data that is being released to show that inflation isn't cooling quite as much as was expected. So, towards the end of last year, there was anticipation of the Fed actually starting to cut interest rates in March, as early as March. And so the markets were kind of anticipating that. And so the longer term mortgage rates started to actually come down. And so we've seen that kind of reverse a little bit. It's about a 50 basis point difference today in the 10-year Treasury yield than it was at the end of December. So the current average 30-year interest rate, according to the Mortgage News Daily, is back up above 7%. So, yeah, horrible, right? You tell your parents that, or, people that bought homes in the 80s and they laugh because, they were paying 15% or whatever. But nevertheless, I digress. So rates have crept up a little bit. So, we have some people that are, kind of sitting on the fence and waiting for potentially later on this year. We still do expect at some point the Fed to cut rates, but we just don't know when and how much.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right. So that's the current trend on rates. They are climbing a little bit, so we'll keep an eye on that. But with that said, there are a lot of great programs available, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. We are seeing all kinds of down payment assistance programs popping up. We're seeing all kinds of, Freddie Mac has something called Borrow Smart that's available in Lake County here. And that's up to $4,000 free money, no strings attached for first-time home buyers that qualify. Not all qualify, so it's something we would have to check on. But there are some really, really good programs popping up.
Free money. Tell us how free is it?
Well, all you have to do is apply for it. You have to be in their certain target area. There's income limitations. But there is no payback on it. There's no
zero payback
on it. You just have to do a 30-minute course, online course. It's actually over the phone, I should say, with a credit counselor, and that's it.
So 30 minutes to get $4,000.
Correct.
That's $8,000 an hour.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And is there any requirements for how long you stay in the house?
Not on that program. There is not.
Wow.
There is not. So it's no strings attached. They don't put a lien on the property. And again, that's through Freddie Mac direct. So it is a conventional loan. So you have to qualify for a conventional loan for that. But we've really, really had a lot of success helping a lot of first-time home buyers with that program.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I can think of I'm working with a lot of first-time home buyers this year, and I'm thinking about how life-changing that can be for a handful of them. Speaking of all the first-time home buyers that I'm working with, Sly, what advice do you have for first-time home buyers this year? I know they're pretty nervous jumping into the market. There's a lot of discourse surrounding the interest rates and surrounding the concept that millennials will never own a home, going around all over social media. I'm sure you hear it all the time as well.
Sure.
What do you have to say to that? Do you have any advice for first-time home buyers this year?
Yeah, definitely. Again, when like we talked about, when is the right time to buy? And it depends on you. It depends on your living situation. I have people that are paying over $2,000 a month in rent when they could be purchasing a home with very little bit down and paying their own mortgage and building equity. Listen, if we could live somewhere for free, everybody would do that.
Of course.
But the reality is, the rental prices are so high that even with the higher rates, at some point, it's going to make sense for you to buy your own home. And with that said, let's say the Fed does cut the rates several times this year and next year and the following year. Hopefully, you could take advantage of kind of reducing your monthly payment by refinancing at some point. Obviously, you have to qualify for that. But let's face it, if your landlord refinances their mortgage, they're not going to give you that savings. They're going to pocket that. They're going to keep your rent the same. So I guess it really just depends on your exact situation. So for a first-time home buyer, the biggest thing is start the process early. It's always, if your lease is up in 60 days, you should have already started getting pre-approved, having your credit checked, doing the thorough debt to income ratio analysis so we can determine exactly how much you qualify for. So you're ready to go. Unfortunately, I've seen it before where people wait and then they don't realize that, this happened or that happened, or they have something affecting their credit, or, they're newly self-employed, or, whatever. And it's too late to address any of that if you're waiting till the last second. That, and the other thing is save. That's the biggest thing. Even though you don't need 20% to put down as a down payment to buy a home, It's going to make your life that much easier to get approved. You know, if you have the additional reserves, if you have, you know, money for a